Good morning and welcome to Fairfield Friends Meeting. It's good to see you all this morning. It's been a while since I've been here, so it's good to be with you again. This morning, Philip is starting a new sermon series, and I won't give anything away on that one, but he is talking about age. We've all... yeah, right. So we've all heard of millennials and boomers, Generation Y and Generation Z, and our granddaughter Madeline is part of Generation Alpha, which I did not know that until yesterday. But I want to share with you a writing from Stephen Petro in his book, Stupid Things I Won't Do When I Get Old. That is why I have chosen to identify as a perennial. And any of you who are gardeners know what perennials are. A term coined by tech entrepreneur Gina Pell to describe ever-blooming, relevant people of all ages who live in the present time, know what is happening in the world, stay current with technology, and have friends of all ages. Perennials get involved. They stay curious. They mentor others and are passionate, compassionate, creative, confident, collaborative, global-minded risk takers, and who know how to hustle. Millennials can be perennials. Boomers can be perennials. Anyone can choose to be a perennial. The worship and song to page 8. I'll break down. This point will a little closer. Okay, very good. This point we'll move on to our announcements. Does anyone on Zoom have announcements to share with our meeting this morning? I think not. So does anyone in person have announcements to share this morning? I think Ann does because I read the email. Thank you.
Yes, there's plenty of food in the, well, it's still in the refrigerator right now. That's part of my announcement. In the kitchen, there's plenty of leftover sweet rolls and things like that. And we're inviting everybody to wander into the dining room when this is done and help us clean up the leftovers from yesterday. I'm also asking for 2 or 3 people to troop out during that final hymn with me to get started heating it up. Notice I sat in the middle of the road so I'm fuss sneaking out. Just the way I plan.
Okay, very good.
I also wanted to thank everybody that helped yesterday. There were so many people that brought things in and stayed and worked and cleaned up and just did all kind of stuff. It was a little raggedy because we hadn't done it for 2 years, so the help was doubly appreciated this time.
Very good. So if you skipped breakfast this morning, you're in the right place. Do we have any more announcements? Linda Rocher.
Sorry you have to walk.
And Josiah's getting his steps in today.
Yeah, get your steps in. Thank you. 2 announcements. One is that tonight is our October monthly meeting for business on Zoom at 7 p.m. You should have already received the link in your email. We hope you can join us. And the second one is I'd like to tag on a little bit to what Ann said as far as thanking people for helping. Several of us were involved with the USFW items that were for sale and for the books that were out there, which the Carol Cordray and the Library Committee was in charge of. Those items are still up out there, and I will be in the gathering area if you'd like to purchase any books or look through the USFW items that we still have out there, and thank everyone for shopping and everyone for helping yesterday.
Very good. Do we have any more announcements? Okay. Now we'll move on to offering. As you know, we have the plates in the back, as always. Also on our website, there is information on how to donate. So thank you for your continued generosity of supporting the meeting so that we can do the ministries that we are called to do. Now I'll turn it over to Philip for the pastoral prayer.
Oh God, we thank you for this day and for this community of faith. Today we bear in mind all of those who suffer in your world, oh God, our brothers and sisters around the globe who find themselves the victims of violent hubris. We remember especially the people of Ukraine. And we pray, O God, to be a light in warring madness. remember especially the children of our world, those at the mercy of adults. And we ask that our hearts be made tender, that we understand and appreciate the consequences of our actions. So that always what is born in us bodes well for others. We remember, O God, the victims of gun violence in our own nation, and we confess our failure to live as we ought. We ask, O God, for a national revival of goodwill and compassion, of a renewed commitment to light and goodness, so that all people everywhere will be blessed by what we do. Guide the strong, protect the weak, illumine the darkness, and fill us with hope, O God. This is our prayer this first day morning. Amen. Well, we missed yesterday's big event. I was doing a wedding. The daughter of one of my best friends, a little girl who I have known since the day she was born. And now she's married. She got married yesterday to another young man who grew up in Danville, and the wedding went well. It was one of those weddings that I felt good about. You thought, well, I do believe this marriage will last. And that was a good feeling. I've done some weddings where I've thought to myself, what in the world are you people thinking? But this was not one of them. It's been an exciting week. We've had quite the little kerfluffle in Danville this past week. Some teenage boys in our town have adorned their cars with loud mufflers and have been racing up and down the streets of our town, agitating the populace. Sociologists have labeled today's teenagers Generation Z, and judging by their cars, I think the Z stands for Zoom. That's what they've been doing. My neighbor Bill, of the father of the bride whose wedding I attended yesterday, and I appreciate that, I walked across the street to sit on his side patio and talk with him about these the wretched depths to which today's youth have sunk. And his wife Karen started laughing. She was overhearing us grouse about this, and she said, "Are you listening to yourselves?" "Well, what do you mean, are we listening to ourselves? What do you mean by that?" She said, "You've become a couple of old geezers. The next thing you know, you'll be yelling at small children to stay off your lawn." And so we had. And now here we are, Bill and I at the age of 61, firmly ensconced in Generation Geezer. This was confirmed last Friday evening when my granddaughter Madeline and I went to the classic car show on our town square. We were looking at the cars when Madeline asked me what year I had been born. And I told her 1961. And she pointed out, with unintended cruelty, that I was older than most of the cars there. Which, while true, was better left unsaid. But the final blow came this past Monday when I had supper with two gentlemen, younger gentlemen in the meeting, and sent them a reminder via text saying, I'll see you millennials at 6 p.m. at Charbono's. And one of them, I won't say who because I've been talked to about confidentiality, but one of them, okay, it was Treg, texted back and said, it gets dark early, let me know if you need a ride. Can you still drive at night? He actually put this in the text. The truth is, even with cataracts, I enjoy aging and the freedom it brings all my life. All my life. Old geezers have been telling me what to do, what to think, what to say, who to vote for, where to go, especially where to go, and what to be, what to do with my life. But since I've become a geezer, their judgment no longer carries the weight it once did. Their opinions are no longer dictates I must follow, but thoughts I can ignore. My last two sermon series on spirituality and then on humanism were, it occurs to me now, my movement away from the religious conventions of musts and shoulds and towards intellectual freedom. And I know that many of us are experiencing that same kind of liberty, no longer believing something just because someone says that we must. I gave a eulogy at a Catholic church a few weeks ago, and I got there early because the priest wanted to meet with me beforehand. And he was giving me instructions before the funeral, directing me to pause and bow as I approached the altar. So when it came time to speak, I walked toward the altar, got ready to bow, and then thought to myself, hold on a minute, I'm a Quaker. I don't bow at altars. So I just walked right up on the altar and gave the eulogy, and guess what? The earth didn't swallow me whole and consume me. It was liberating. I looked over at the priest. He was not a happy man. This isn't to say that I don't bow, just that what I bow to has changed. What I bow to has changed. My allegiances and loyalties have shifted. I've noticed this is happening all around the world these days. The young women of Iran are no longer bowing to despotic thugs disguised as Islamic clerics. Ukrainians are not rolling over and playing dead like Vladimir Putin supposed they would. In our own nation, people are reconsidering the work-life balance and quiet quitting by the millions. Isn't that an interesting word, quiet quitting? When I first heard that word, I thought it meant they were actually quitting their jobs, but that's not it at all. That's not what the term means. Quiet quitting simply means people are reducing the amount of time and effort they devote to their jobs. What we bow to is changing, and it's happening all over the world. This is what aging and maturation do to us. It causes a shift in our priorities and perspectives. When our grandson was born, Joanne said she was going to Alaska for 2 weeks to help our son and daughter-in-law. And I asked her, still in this old mindset, what will you do if your job won't let you? And she said, I'll find a new job. Quiet quitting, a work-life balance. What we bow to changes. The changes that accompany aging have compelled me, as Joanne said, to begin a new sermon series that I'm calling Stuff I Want to Do, a Geezer's Manifesto. In this series, I will describe the change in priorities that often accompany aging. But more than that, I will explore how we might spend the last quarter of our lives. I know there are some here not yet in that quarter, but you will be one day if you are lucky, and it's wise to plan ahead, to have a game plan. So here's the stuff I'll be thinking and speaking about in the weeks ahead, the stuff I want to do, a geezer's manifesto. Incidentally, I found this fascinating while researching the word geezer. You know, typically it said the geezer is an old man. And so I asked for the female equivalent of geezer, and I'm almost afraid to mention it. Craig's saying, mention it.
No, I'm saying she's afraid.
The female equivalent of the word geezer was hag, which I am not going to mention, except just now, but no more. No more. So when I say geezer, I mean, I'm not referring to a certain gender. I mean, anyone older than me. And so here's what I want to do in my geezer years. In my geezer years, I want to save less and give more. I don't want to die with gobs of money in the bank getting moldy when human need is so great. Here's how I have it planned. I want to give my last $100 to a hungry kid and then keel over dead. I am a geezer. I don't need a new car, a bigger house, or the latest fashions. I need only the satisfaction of giving what I have gotten. In my geezer years, I want to talk less and listen more, mostly to young people whose voices I have too casually dismissed as uninformed and naive. I will not share my opinion unless asked. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be 100% successful at this. This is my aim. These are my goals, my hopes, my aspirations. I will not share my opinion unless asked, nor presume to think it my duty to correct, to explain, to defend. I am a geezer. It is time to put down my microphone and pick up my ear trumpet. In my geezer years, I will embrace modernity and not condemn it. If I catch my grandchildren listening to their music, I won't scoff and tell them the music was better when I was a kid. When my children and grandchildren buy electric vehicles, I won't regale them about the glories of the internal combustion engine, nor will I rant about the power grid being insufficient to power all of these fancy electric cars. I will trust that minds far brighter than mine will rise to this challenge and conquer it. I am a geezer. The future belongs to my grandchildren, not to me. In my geezer years, I will not complain about taxes. I have been blessed with schools, libraries, roads, museums, safe food and water, protection from crime, fire, and malice. I have been financially assisted in my old age, provided medical care, vaccinations, and wise counsel meant to ensure my well-being. I will not behave as if the blessings I received should come without cost. I am a geezer. The good life isn't cheap, and I will not demand it be. In my geezer years, I will not act as if I know more than everyone else. I will acknowledge that my knowledge is dated. Get this. In 1900, the repository of human knowledge doubled every 100 years. By 1945, it was doubling every 25 years. In 2022, because of artificial intelligence and computers, the repository of human knowledge is doubling every 12 hours. And I got my college degree in 1988, so that tells you where I am and how up to date I am. I will delight when younger people know more than I do. Indeed, I'll give generously to make sure they know more than I do. I think the greatest sin of my generation is our failure to make higher education widespread and affordable. I am a geezer. I will cheerfully give what I must to make sure younger people know more than I do. In my geezer years, I will vote for bright and capable people, no matter their party, race, gender, or religion. I will vote for people I believe to be sincerely committed not just to the betterment of the United States, but the betterment of our world. I will not fall prey to catchy slogans. I will think, reflect, and act with courage, resolving to improve our shared life. I am a geezer. I know better than to be deceived by people who want only my easy vote, but never my committed critique and engagement. This is the start of my geezer manifesto, which I will further define in the weeks ahead. Here's what I'd like you to do as I'm doing this series. I want you, during this series of message, I'm inviting you to write your own geezer manifesto. You can call it your perennial manifesto if you wish. The principles to which you will dedicate your lives, the stuff you want to do before you, in the words of the immortal Kermit the Frog, croak.
All hearts are clear. We will stand and sing our closing song, A Song of Peace. Worship and Song 304. If anyone wants to go help on that one.
I have really been enjoying the programs on Thursday night taught by Max Carter. And one of the things he spoke about were Quaker peculiarities in dress and in speech, and how we use those as kind of boundary markers to let people know that we were in this group and that it had a distinct identity. Now we don't do that any longer. We no longer speak plainly. We no longer look like the old-time Quakers used to. But wouldn't it be neat, and wouldn't it be wonderful if our boundary markers were this, that instead of shrinking our lives as we aged, drawing in upon ourselves and our concerns alone, that instead just the opposite happened, that our lives expanded and the scope of our concern widened, not just to embrace us and our kin, but all the world, so that when people looked at us, they could see that we were different, that our lives were wide and expansive and embracing. Let us be that kind of people this week, friends, and not just this week, but until we croak. Turn and greet friends.